Throughout this video, I will be using the Watch the Line map to help orient folks with the locations of the footage shown. Our first location is in the far northwest corner of Minnesota on a tributary of the Red River. Here we are looking northwest up the corridor. Common to many of the hotspot sites, there are obvious damages such as this dried up riverbed at the crossing of the pipeline. Let's zoom out from the Red River and move to the next site at Middle River, also in Marshall County. This is one of 21 sites that Enbridge used a horizontal directional drill, an HDD, to bore under the river. Enbridge says, although land around the drill entry and exit locations is disturbed during HDD activities, it will be restored to its pre-drilled state. Next, we move to the Snake River, also in Marshall County. This river was featured in a video titled, "Where Did the Snake River Go?" In August 2021, the river had all but dried up. Nothing but a few puddles remained where the pipeline crosses. During this flyover, 2 years later, we can see that the river is higher, yet there is still a ridge of bare ground right where the pipeline goes under. Next on the map is a cluster of 3 sites, all within 2 miles of each other, but because of time, we will only look at 2 of them. At this site, there is a stream along the road that gets much larger at the edge of the pipeline corridor, where the water is upwelling from the ground. Along most of the construction route, Enbridge drove sheet piling into the ground to form a trench to drop their pipeline into. This is what it looks like. The sheet piling that Enbridge drove too deep into the ground pierced aquifers, which is the source of the upwelling water. Here we have a thermal image of the upwelling water. We can see the 56° Fahrenheit temperature. Because this site is legally accessible by the public, we are able to visually confirm this upwelling on the ground. You can see a pretty strong flow of water here. The next site is about half a mile from the last. Both of these sites were trenched using sheet piling. This site has a similar thermal signature as the last site, indicating another upwelling of water. The next site is the Clearbrook Terminal, the site of the first reported aquifer breach in Clearwater County. Enbridge didn't report the breach to the DNR, and 5 days after the breach, on January 26, 2021, Enbridge requested a 10-fold increase in their water appropriation permit. The DNR then sold Enbridge an additional 4.5 billion gallons of water for $150. The DNR found out about the breach 5 months later, the breach didn't get fixed for a year, and 72 million gallons of groundwater spilled out of the breach. This is what it looks like today. The next site, Walker Brook, has been through 3 years of ongoing construction as Enbridge moves their equipment in and out of this precious place for reasons unclear to us. WA has a different video about Walker Brook that I encourage you to watch. Let's have a break from looking at the harm Enbridge has caused and look downstream at Walker Brook Lake, just north of the construction. The next site is the Mississippi River, just a few miles downstream of the headwaters. This is the site of the first iteration of the Firelight encampment, as well as where multiple frackouts were reported. A frackout is when drilling mud from the horizontal directional drilling is pushed up through the riverbed from pressure beneath. Enbridge caused at least 28 reported frackouts during construction, exceeding the typical 50% failure rate, with 67% of their HDDs fracking out. Here's the river just downstream of the construction damage. The next site is LaSalle Valley, another place that has been through years of ongoing construction. The DNR knew the LaSalle Valley crossing would be problematic, yet they permitted it anyway. In August 2021, Enbridge and their contractors again breached an aquifer with their sheet piling. To fix the breach, workers inserted about 135 23-foot-long steel pipes throughout the valley and injected over 51,000 gallons of grout. This created a permanent, underground, reinforced concrete wall over 20 feet high in places and 2.5 football fields in length. What you are seeing here is Enbridge's attempt at remediating the valley. Enbridge clear-cut nearby trees and laid them on the land. The next site is about 12 miles away at Hay Creek, another HDD location. We are confident in our evidence that there is upwelling water here. However, we think that this probable aquifer breach was caused by past pipeline construction and not Line 393. This reinforces the questions regarding where the state agencies are. Why are volunteer community groups doing the work of the state? We can see the cool water temperature indicating upwelling water. The next site is Moose Lake, a beautiful Manoomin or wild rice lake that Enbridge trenched just 50 feet from the southern shore, creating several aquifer breaches in the wetland. Moose Lake exists within complex wetland and peat bog ecosystems which support many relatives, many species of fish, both migrating and non-migrating birds, muskrats, and other mammals, as well as human beings. In June 2022, WA field volunteers discovered an upwelling of water only about 50 feet from the lake and reported it to the MNDNR. Over a year later, the DNR finally confirmed the breach and notified the public. The effects of aquifer breaches on wetland ecologies are unknown. The plant life supported by these wetland ecosystems, including Manoomin or wild rice, evolved to thrive in water chemistry that is much different than aquifer water. Some possible effects we are concerned about are temperature and biochemical changes affecting the ecosystem's ability to access and cycle nutrients. The state agencies are prudently requiring long-term monitoring of this site. Unfortunately, even that can be disruptive, as illustrated by this aquifer breach location that has been shored up with sandbags so they can collect water samples. Wetlands play a critical role in providing fresh water, improving water quality, sequestering carbon, regulating climate, and supporting biodiversity. The Minnesota DNR cites that 50% of our original wetland acreage has already been lost. We are concerned for the entire wetland biome, but especially for the Manoomin that grows on the lake where the aquifer water flows into. WA wants to see this aquifer breach fixed, but we also want to see no more harm done to this and all other places that Enbridge has damaged. At this site alone, there are at least 3 new upwellings of water and 4 springs that no longer flow. This is the last site we will see today. It's about 400 feet from the border of the Fond du Lac Reservation on 1854 treaty territory. The Fond du Lac breach, or as Enbridge calls it, milepost 1102.5, occurred September 10, 2021. Enbridge had insufficient information on the area's hydrology and the DNR did not require it. The breach was caused by Enbridge's trenching methods once again, and a minimum of 263 million gallons of groundwater was released. According to Enbridge, the aquifer breach was successfully repaired on April 7, 2022. But WA has documented 3 new seeps just east of Enbridge's 2021 breach site. By plotting their coordinates on a map alongside Enbridge's data, we know that these are new seeps. Here are Enbridge's coordinates of the 2021 breaches plotted on a map. And here are the coordinates of the upwellings WA has recorded. The new upwellings are alarming as it is, but when we look at the thermal data, we see water temperatures of up to 99.9 degrees Fahrenheit. As mentioned before, upwelling aquifer water normally surface with temperatures of around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. In an agreement between Enbridge and the DNR, Enbridge paid $450,000 for ongoing monitoring, with over $1 million more available for restoration, mitigation, or monitoring. Again, we ask, where is the DNR? Where are the state agencies? Who is holding Enbridge accountable for this ongoing damage to the land and water? Joanna Macy writes that, until we can grieve for our planet, we cannot love it. Grieving is a sign of spiritual health, but it is not enough to weep for our lost landscapes. We have to put our hands in the earth to make ourselves whole again. Even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. A reflection from Robin Wall Kimmerer. So, as we work to hold Enbridge, their contractors, and the state of Minnesota accountable for the harm they have caused, And as we attend hearings and meetings to prevent further harm from being done to the earth and our relatives, we must also cultivate and maintain good relationships with the land, water, and each other. Being on the land in a respectful way is both an act of care and an act of resistance in this society that tries to alienate us from nature. My hope for WA and everyone else is that we will continue to resist harm by direct action against extraction, as well as by being in good relationship with nature, each other, and ourselves. Miigwech, Bizendawyeg, thank you for listening.